This happened directly to me. At the time of this story, I was a 12-year-old male who lived in California. For a summer trip, me and my family flew to Boise, Idaho for a week to stay with my cousins. We stayed at their house for 2 days. Then came the best part. It was the best part. Until what happened, that is. On the third day, we drove to a small city in the Rocky Mountains of central Idaho. They owned a cabin in Ketchum. The first day was fishing at nearby lakes, playing games, and meeting a few of the neighbors on the small street. Everybody we met was nice. It was amazing. I thought nothing could go wrong. Before I say more, here's a layout of the area. The room where I slept was at the back of the house. There was no fencing at the back of the backyard because it was on the bank of a freezing cold river. Directly on the other side of the river was a huge mountain covered by thick forest pine trees. A small path starts on the other side of the river, but there's no bridge. There is a 1/4 of a mile down the road in front of our house. I went to bed that night, woke up at 2 a.m., needing to use the bathroom. I got up and did my thing, and headed back to my room. As I got into bed, I felt so hot that I opened my window. Not 15 minutes after that I opened my window, I heard the most terrifying screech coming from the forest. It was raspy but high-pitched. I know for a fact it wasn't human. I've heard stories from horror narration YouTube channels that often describe creatures that make weird noises that sound sort of human, but aren't. I heard it once more, but this time closer. In the morning when I woke up, we explored around town. At 7 p.m., me, my sister, and my cousins got permission from our parents to go explore the forest. I was uneasy, considering I had heard creepy, human-like noises in the night, and it was nearing night. The oldest cousin, Alex, who was 16, took a loaded pistol, a lighter, and a backpack of snacks. I carried a hunting knife and a flashlight. The cousin my age, Julia, just took a flashlight. My sister, Brianna, and the other cousin, Karina, who were 10, took some extra batteries and a small bag of candy each. We made our way across the bridge at the end of the street and back to the path on the side of the river, across from the house. All of us began the hike to the top of the mountain. We made it to the top of Bald Mountain in an hour and a half. The view from 9,000 feet was incredible. At 8:55, Alex and I figured it was time to head down and order the group to the path. At this point, it was dark now. The sun had fully set. Julia and I turned on our flashlights and shined them ahead as we walked. Some halfway down the mountain, which was about 45 minutes into the walk, I got the dreadful feeling you get when you're being watched and followed. Seconds later, something that was hiding in the bushes a few yards into the tree line that bordered the path ran off on our right. I brushed it off as some type of small animal. About 5 minutes after the incident, what we heard made me tingle with fear, and my heart dropped to my stomach. That same horrifying screech from last night echoed all through the forest, a mile or two away. I told everybody we needed to move faster, and we did. It went off again, but closer. Again, closer. Whatever that thing was, it was moving faster than us. We were full-on speed walking by then. That still wasn't fast enough, because soon the screeching stopped, and we heard loud steps 30 yards off to the right. I got that feeling of being watched. Alex took his gun, firing 2 shots in the general direction of the steps. The creature backed off, even though we thought he was gone. I still sensed we were being watched. As the river came into sight, It caught me and everyone else by surprise. I heard the path gravel crunching behind us. I looked back, and in the darkness, saw the outline of something that resembled a human on the path behind us, with about 200 yards of distance between us. I told Alex, and his face went pale when he looked. We told the rest of the group quietly, and on three, we all broke out into a run towards the river. Whatever that thing was, it was extremely fast. When we reached the river, there wasn't time to get to the bridge a quarter of a mile farther along the river because this thing was catching up fast. We jumped in and swam across the ice-cold water. It got to the river just as we made it up the bank and into the backyard. Julia and I shined our flashlights and finally got a good look at what our pursuer looked like. It was a massive, hairy creature, standing about 7 feet tall. Huge, razor-sharp claws like a bear. Eyes that glowed red, that illuminated when a flashlight shined on them. Alex shot at it, and it darted off with one final long screech. We all looked at each other in pure terror, shock, and surprise. Alex explained everything to our parents. They didn't know what to make of it, and had never heard anything like it. I'm thankful nothing happened to us, and that I noticed the creature behind us. If I had not, one of the others might not have noticed until it was too late. The next time I stay at that cabin, I'm not going alone in those woods at night. Never again. Not after that. This thing was seen by me and my friends on 2 separate occasions. I will explain the first encounter. It is a decently long one, so bear with me. Me and my older brother and 2 friends decided that we were brave and ventured off into my pasture. Now, I'm not in a rural area where my neighbors are super far away. I'm only about 20 minutes from town. Well, the oldest in the group was 12. So being dumb, we walked out to the field. And keep in mind it was freshly diced and plowed, so there were no weeds. Armed with a pocket knife and a big knife and a CO2 airsoft gun, we walked out to my back gate and into the field. We saw nothing but the buildings maybe a mile in front of us. We also have coyotes out there. Well, we made it to the back of the field, and a horrible smell came out of the ditch. So we ran back. When we turned back to the field, we saw 2 figures. I know for sure that they were not there 25 minutes ago. Stupidly, we shot the gun at them, and they stood up on 2 legs. We panicked and ran inside and watched a movie. The second time is very quick. I was playing basketball late at night, and I saw this thing jump from tree to tree. I was older. It was 2 years from the last sighting, and I was strangely not scared. I just went into the house and went to bed. That is my story of the strange creature I saw those nights. If you know what it could have been, please tell me. It all started when summer came, and me and my 3 friends, Lola, Katie, and Jennifer, were all planning to go camping. We were all excited and scared at the same time, because we were going camping alone. Lola had asked her father if he could drop us off. He agreed to take us. When the next day came, we started heading up. Lola's dad set up the camper that we were using. There was some spare blankets inside. Lola's dad finally got us in his truck and turned around. He stopped, rolled down his window, and told us no boys. There were 3 rooms in the trailer, 1 master bedroom, and 2 rooms with each bunk. Each room had a TV in it, so nobody cared what room they got. Everyone knew that Jennifer did not like small rooms, so we let her have the big one. I was in a room with Lola, and Katie was in a room by herself. I started unpacking when we heard a loud boom outside. I asked Lola if she heard that. She asked me what, and she said she heard the boom. We both looked at each other, startled, then continued unpacking. But something seemed off. It was the fact that Lola was so chill about it. I was done unpacking, so I walked outside and started a fire. Jennifer walked out, asked if I saw it. I asked, saw what? And then she starts freaking me out. She was staring behind me, panicking, her eyes darting back and forth, and then calming. I felt as if something was watching me, so I turned around. I saw an orb in the corner of my eye, reddish black, but by the time I turned to look, it was gone. I was so freaked out. I told Katie she could cook instead. We had our family's secret recipe of shepherd's pie and a bunch of vanilla cupcakes. There were about a dozen cupcakes left in the open box, so we just left it on the table and went to bed. I could hear the TV coming from Katie's room, so I punched the wall and told her to be quiet. Right after I said it, everything went quiet, except for a small scream in the distance. It did not sound human. It gave me chills that ran down my spine. I dozed off, but woke in the middle of the night from hearing someone in the kitchen. I woke up Lola. Then we walked out into the small hallway that led into the kitchen. I saw Jennifer sitting on the table, staring straight ahead. Something touched me. I jumped and realized it was just Katie saying what was making those weird sounds. Jennifer was really creeping me out. She never stared into space this often. But then I noticed something in the corner of my eye. It was a shadowy figure. It was staring at Jennifer and slowly turned to face me and Katie. I froze. Katie froze. Jennifer then looked at us, as if being mind-controlled. Then the figure ran out the window, and Jennifer then dropped her head onto the table. We tried to wake her up, but ended up falling asleep. This experience still scares me, and is the only one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. Me and the others are still very close friends. We actually live together now. But we all remember that night, and whatever it was we saw. It turns out Jennifer remembers seeing it in the daytime, but was out cold when the rest of us saw it. It freaks us out even more, now knowing that our friend wasn't even awake and staring into space, eyes wide open.